city of Novaville was a shadow of its former self. Once a bustling metropolis, it was now a victim of climate change and deforestation. Buildings pierced the skies, but the air was thick with pollution, and the streets were eerily quiet. Dr. Elaine Martinez, a leading environmentalist, stood atop her office building and gazed out at the city below. Her heart ached. From her vantage point, she could see the devastating impact of climate change. The city was consistently baking in unpredictable heat waves, and the streets shimmered with the illusion of mirages. The once lush parks and gardens were now barren wastelands, and the rivers had run dry. In the distance, beyond the city limits, Elaine could see a vast expanse of open land. This was once a lush and vibrant forest, but it had been cleared for urban development and converted into grazing land for cattle and crops to feed animals. Elaine knew that the city's residents were suffering. They were breathing polluted air, on water restrictions, and struggling to cope with the extreme heat. But she also knew that there was still hope. Novaville and other cities could be transformed into sustainable and thriving places to live once again, with natural habitats restored and a new focus on greener ways of living. All it took was the will to change. Throughout her professional career, Elaine conducted comprehensive research on the critical importance of biodiverse natural habitats to global ecosystems. She read an article that stated the Amazon rainforest has lost 80% of its habitat due to cattle ranch expansion for global beef exports. This sent her mind racing with thoughts. When we're at the supermarket, we don't think about this kind of destruction. Sheep and cattle have the highest land and water footprint of any food and have caused a 60% loss of plant and animal biodiversity globally. As she gazed out at the city below, Elaine's heart ached with the realization that forests, once brimming with life and beauty, were now being reduced to charred wastelands. Towering trees were becoming ash and embers. Lush undergrowths were replaced by barren soil, and wildlife populations were being decimated. Future generations might never witness their natural splendor, and this loss is such a tragedy for the planet and humanity, she thought to herself. Forests play a vital role in regulating the global climate, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and releasing oxygen. They are also home to an incredible diversity of plant and animal life, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. Closing her eyes, Elaine imagined herself standing in the heart of a lush rainforest. The towering trees reached up to the sky, their branches forming a canopy that filtered out rays of sunshine. The air was thick with the symphony of bird songs and the buzzing of insects. The ground beneath her feet was soft and damp, covered in a carpet of leaves and ferns. She could smell the rich earth and the sweet fragrance of flowers. She could feel the warm humidity on her skin and the cool breeze that rustled through the leaves. She imagined herself walking through the rainforest, surrounded by all its beauty and wonder. She saw monkeys swinging through the trees and butterflies fluttering among the flowers. She heard the sound of water rushing through a nearby stream. She felt at peace in this rainforest paradise. She knew that this was the future she wanted for all forests, including the Amazon. A future where they were thriving and protected, teeming with life, and playing their vital role in the global ecosystem. Dr. Elaine Martinez knew that this future could be possible, but only through consumer awareness and political action. We need to reduce our meat consumption, support sustainable agriculture, and pressure governments to take real action on climate change. We also needed to support indigenous peoples in their efforts to protect natural habitats. Elaine opened her eyes and took a deep breath. She knew that she had a role to play in protecting these crucial habitats worldwide. She was a world leader in conservation, determined to protect and restore nature's beauty. Across the city, vibrant 3D billboards advertised glamorous meat dishes and juicy burgers, a far too common indulgence for the city's inhabitants. Dr. Martinez realized that the billboards were misleading people by omitting the environmental impact of meat consumption. She knew she had to change the narrative and create a new vision for the future, where people were aware of the environmental impact of their choices and the importance of protecting forests and the lives they sustained. She stepped back from the window and sat at her desk to write a plan. Dr. Martinez's assistant, Michael, burst into her office. "Look at this," he exclaimed, showing a holographic chart with some new concerning statistics. It highlighted that the city's dietary patterns were causing more harm than the transport industry. Factory farms and expansive land clearance for farms was the leading cause. The numbers were astounding. Each year, more than 88 billion animals are bred and raised, with a significant portion enduring distress before their slaughter. The planet had a choice: either take decisive restorative action or face irreversible ecological consequences. Elaine was determined to put her plan into action. She organized a town meeting with key stakeholders and citizens of the city. She began by showcasing images from a greener past, a time when people led healthier lives. Forests stood majestic and pristine, and water was both abundant and pure. The World Health Organization has declared climate change the biggest threat to human health, she said with great sincerity. Not only is the direct carbon emissions from livestock a problem, but also the forgotten consequences of converting precious and biodiverse natural habitats into pasture land. The loss of natural habitats, which act as carbon sinks, sustain water cycles, and prevent erosion, along with supporting countless plants and animals, is a profound tragedy. This is causing significant consequences for our current lives, with effects that will only deepen for future generations. The planet doesn't possess the necessary land and water resources to support regular red meat consumption for the entire population. It's not solely an environmental issue. It directly concerns our health, too. On her 3D holographic computer, she presented compelling data illustrating the health risks associated with excessive consumption of red meat and processed foods, notably heart disease and certain cancers. The oldest people in the world, who live in the blue zones, only eat meat occasionally and thrive on a wholesome plant-based diet. They live in harmony with the planet, and their way of life has a much smaller impact on the planet that we can all learn from. They eat foods rich in grains, legumes, and plants, and only a small amount of animal protein, several times per month. She proposed a citywide initiative, the Novaville Planet Pledge. It involved a voluntary reduction in meat consumption, supporting regenerative farms coupled with subsidies for businesses producing plant-based alternatives. We can still savor our beloved dishes, but with regenerative practices and sustainable alternatives, she explained. Local chefs like Chef Ramsay, whose steakhouse was a city favorite, were initially skeptical but open-minded enough to try. Once he tasted a satisfying plant-based dish, full of flavors and textures reminiscent of meat, he was sold. Chef Ramsay was surprised to learn that the nutrients he once thought were exclusive to meat, such as protein, zinc, and iron, could also be sourced from plants. Inspired by the world's centenarian blue zone populations, and with guidance from Dr. Martinez, he unveiled the Novaville Green Ribbon menu. This menu showcased delicious and nutritious plant-based dishes, incorporating minimal meat portions for those so inclined, mirroring the dietary habits of the planet's centenarians. Chef Ramsay smiled. Gorillas are strong, and they don't eat other animals. The community was enthusiastic and came together. Schools started meatless Mondays. Families tried out vegan weekends. And the results? Astounding. Within 2 years, the city became a symbol of hope and resilience. The impact was clear to see. Emissions were falling and deforestation of untouched forests was banned. The streets buzzed with vitality and energy, and children played under skies that seemed bluer. As Novaville's transformation began, its story whispered on the breeze, carrying the sweet scent of hope and the promise of a healthier, greener, and more sustainable future. But the story doesn't end there. Novaville's success inspired other communities around the world to follow suit. Soon, a social media movement was born to reduce meat consumption, support sustainable farmers, protect rainforests, reduce emissions, and slow deforestation for the benefit of all living things. In the years that followed, the movement gained huge momentum. More and more communities joined the cause. Seeing the benefits for themselves and the planet, they protected trees, restored degraded ecosystems, and supported valuable indigenous cultures. Dr. Martinez sat in her office, reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. She had started out as a lone voice, but her message had resonated with people around the world, and together they had inspired collective action to reverse Earth's trajectory from demise. Dr. Martinez knew that there was still much work to be done, but she was confident that humanity was on the right track. She had shown that anyone could drive change for a worthy cause, and she hoped that her legacy would inspire future generations to continue working toward a sustainable future for all. As she gazed out the window, she felt a sense of hope and optimism. Beyond the city skyline, she could see the regenerated land stretching out to the horizon, a patchwork of green fields and forests. It was a testament to the resilience of the earth and the power of human ingenuity. If you believe in creating a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future, then you can help by liking and sharing this video. Remember to be the change you want to see in the world. Small changes can make a world of difference. Subscribe to EcoPlanet Stories for more inspirational tales and to see our next video.